1/4 of Japanese banks can use XRP. Also, you will never believe what Chris Larson just said about Gary Gensler. You have to watch this. Also, India is using some type of central bank digital currency technology that has to do with Ripple. We're going to go through all of that and much, much more in this video. Welcome. I am Crypto Sensei, helping you on your crypto journey. Let's get into the news and information. If you learned something, if you like the channel, please think about liking the video, sharing the video, and subscribing to the channel if you are not already. Let's do it. So here we go. Let's kick it off with, this is some type of conference. You have XRP logo in the background. Jack Rippler put this out. Japan's banks are preparing to adopt XRP for seamless transactions. Listen closely because that's exactly what it says here.
Actually, Japan is a very, very cash-oriented society.
Surprisingly.
Surprisingly, yeah. People think we are kind of advanced, but basically, by the way, I come from Japan. But the percentage of digital payments of all the transactions is actually only 19%. So it's actually kind of national agenda to increase digital payments. And the government encourage banks to innovate so that they can increase digital payments ratio. So now what we are doing in Japan is we created a consortium of more than 50 banks to come together to develop a completely new payments platform or infrastructure powered by Ripple's distributed ledger technology.
There you go.
Which basically replaces the existing domestic payments system called the Zenkin system, and also can be applied for cross-border payments as well.
And that contrasts with Zelle, which is a fantastic enterprise. It's built on the existing rails.
Existing rails, yeah, that's right.
Is that dude getting paid by Zelle to drop freaking little hints there? All right. So I've never been able to explore Japan. I only stopped there on my way to China because there was a typhoon. And so I didn't know how many banks or different banks there were in Japan. So I asked Perplexity, and here's the information that it kicked up. So as of 2024, Japan has approximately 218 banks in total, which includes various types of financial institutions. This figure encompasses, you have city banks, major banks operating across the country, regional banks, 62 banks that serve the public and local areas, and specialized banks that manage trusts and estates. So it's interesting, right? You have these regional banks, I'd imagine, are maybe out of more populated town areas. I don't know. Maybe if you're from Japan, you can let me know kind of how many really big banks there are. But if you just take this number of 218 and you have over 50 banks working in this new consortium, that's 1/4 of all banks in Japan, right? And if you're looking at just kind of maybe city banks and regional banks, because this is taking other financial institutions into play here too. So you could be looking at a higher number than 1/4 right now. And that obviously can expand in the future. It's kind of exciting, really exciting. All right. So this has been floating around since a few days ago. I wanted to play this and talk to you about it because Chris Larson just put something out and it speaks highly, but we got to set it up, man. We got to tee it up. Let's go.
Mr. Gensler, you're also busy in parallel with the crypto industry. I think there's consensus on the eve of an election that all of those parties involved and responsible want to hammer out some sort of new jurisdictional framework for crypto regulators to make some progress on settling oversight of that industry. Can you talk to us about the work you're doing there and if you're making any progress in that field?
Look, there's nothing incompatible about the ledger technology. You know, it's just this Halloween, it will be 16 years since Satoshi Nakamoto wrote that white paper. So happy sweet 16 in a week. There's nothing incompatible about a ledger technology, a decentralized ledger technology, and the securities laws. And it's important that in the securities markets that investors get to decide on their investments, but they get the proper disclosure, that we guard against conflicts of interest and the like. And we're going to continue to do that at the Securities and Exchange Commission. If a market's ever going to have trust, it also needs to come into compliance. And a lot of this field, and we've seen the challenges in this field where a lot of people have lost money. Regular investors have lost money in a field that's not providing the fundamental disclosure about their projects, about these investment contracts and these schemes, and that it's a field that has a lot of conflicts in the middle of it.
All right. When this dude gets fired, regardless of who wins the election, this guy's gone, right? When this guy is officially gone, we are going to have a party on this channel. Bring the champagne. We will toast to Gary Gensler leaving the SEC. Also, there's this clip. I think this is...
Talking of disclosures, one disclosure from former President Trump is that he would fire you, ultimately. Unsurprising to you, I'm sure.
So, Caroline, I'll let you go to your next question.
A lot to get on with, and your term is what, until June 2026? But will it run until then? Many feel that perhaps not.
June 2026. Kill us all right now. I cannot imagine another 2.5 years, or no, it'd be a year and a half of Gary Gensler. Oh, painful. No, I'm excited that Biden is not running for re-election. Okay. Regardless of who wins in like 8 or 9 days, we are going to probably have a new administration at the SEC. Thank God. So Chris Larson just put this out. Listen to his words about Gary Gensler after I just played those 2 clips.
Let me just say, I think Gary Gensler has been the worst public servant that we've ever had in this country. It's been incredibly damaging to this country. But look, I think we need to be really thoughtful here. I look at what sort of Reid Hoffman said about Lena Khan. He's a big contributor to the Dems. He said Lena Khan needs to go. That's spectacularly backfired, right? If anything, that probably ensures Lena Khan stays in that role. And, we could argue, for the things that she's done, some good, some bad, but I'm not going to empower Gary Gensler to have any excuse, on what happens with his future. So I'm not going to comment on that. And I don't think donors should be getting involved in things like that, right? We're supporting the candidate. We're supporting her core values. And it is, her leadership that is going to, have to make decisions like that.
So it's hard to find what the question was, but it sounds like from his answer that they asked him about his donations to the Kamala Harris campaign. And if he had mentioned something about getting rid of Gary Gensler, maybe like pay for play, or his opinion about Gary Gensler. And, we all are voting our conscience and what we believe in November here in the United States. Chris Larson happens to think Kamala Harris would do a better job than Trump. And so he's donated, I think, like $10 or $12 million to her campaign over the last, few months. So let's go to this. When we're talking about who could replace Gary Gensler, I think Hester Peirce would be probably the best person, right? She's crypto friendly. She understands the industry. She knows how great America is and how big crypto could be in America. Now, they might blow out the whole commission. I don't know. But if they don't blow it out, I would love to see her take a higher role. I don't know if you have a personal opinion on who you think should be the head top job at the SEC, but I really like Hester Peirce. I'm going to play this real quick.
You, Commissioner, you are seen by the public as more pro crypto, or at least less anti-crypto than some other members of the SEC. Why do you think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm making this assumption, but why do you think it's important for the nation to adopt more pro-crypto friendly stances and regulations?
Well, I think as I mentioned, it's not about being pro or anti-crypto. It's about saying I'm a regulator and my job is to regulate in a way that allows the markets to figure out what they want and what they don't want. And what my criticism has been is that we have taken a decidedly anti-crypto approach to the way we interpret our regulations. And I think that's completely wrong for us to do that. I think we need to go back to being neutral. And that means we do work with people and help them figure out how to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish while remaining consistent with our securities law.
Okay, so just really quickly, I have to give you this little bit of context here. How it usually works, right, is under Gary Gensler, he's been regulation by enforcement, which means that companies, Gary Gensler famously said, come in and register, we'll work with you. And then companies will come in and register, ask, hey, are we compliant? What do we need to do? They want to work with the SEC to make sure that they don't break any rules and to fix anything they need to. And Gary Gensler used that to go after those companies instead of saying, hey, you need to fix this and this. And so Hester Peirce, that's what she's addressing here, is she's saying that we need to work with companies instead of against them. And I think that's the way that you should have an outlook, because if you're not working with the biggest leaders in blockchain technology, they're all going to go offshore, right? Americans, we pride ourselves at being the best at everything, right? Baseball, basketball, technology, AI, right? Blockchain is a key vital piece of the future of the way value, tokenized value, any type of money and currency, information encrypted information is stored, and there's 100 other use cases, right, that encompass all that. But you get what I'm saying, right? We need somebody in America that is going to lead with this type of thought process that is going to work with companies instead of regulation by enforcement.
Objectives. And we could do that. It would not be hard for us to do. I mean, it would require some work, but it's not impossible. And I think that's the job of a regulator, to take new facts and circumstances and to work with people to figure out how they fit within the current framework, and then allow the public to make their own decisions about whether they want things or not. This is America, and people should be free to make their own choices. And so that's the world that I'm hoping that we can create with a more neutral regulatory framework.
I think she's going for the top job. The way that she's just talking and the way that she carries herself, I think she would be great. All right, video's running a little bit longer here. I'm going to make another one. So here we have, this is FinTech Festival in India. This gentleman is talking, this is 27 seconds. It says, banks in India are currently conducting private ledger tests using XRP to facilitate efficient money transfers between banks, Bank A, XRP, Bank B, right in between, of course, 1 to 3 second transactions, secured and decentralized. And it says 0 fees on this. Let me play this.
We are working with Ripple, XRP on their CBDC platform, and we are consulting small countries, not like India. So they are very advanced. We are already into the CBDC platform. We are consulting small countries as one of the advisory paper submission and everything on the CBDC, how they can move to CBDC.
Mr. Solomon Ashok, founder Cars FinTech and co-founder and CTO of Accelerate Finance. Please.
All right. So the world, 98% of the world is working on some type of CBDC or test, or they've actually launched a wholesale, and some have actually launched a retail CBDC, right? Over the next 3 to 5 years, most of those countries are going to come out of the pilot phase and into a real phase, whether it's wholesale, which is bank to bank, or central bank to bank, or retail, which is me and you, or if you go into a business and you want to use, some type of CBDC. The US is kind of, they just created a new payment system in the US. And so they're not in a huge rush to move to a CBDC, but they have done a lot of testing that involves a central bank digital currency. And so if the right person was in control of the government and wanted to move forward with a CBDC, I think you would see that. Obviously, if Trump takes over, he said that he is anti-central bank digital currency or CBDC. So if he does win in November, obviously this is, over 4 years out in the US, even if it's something that's a possibility. So it really does matter who is in office and what you want your future to look like as far as digital money. And it's going to be exciting to see what happens over the next few weeks and what administration will be taken over. I will leave you at that. I hope you have a good day. I hope you learned something. Aloha. Bye.